Hey, welcome back. Today, we are going deep into U.S. onshore exploration and production, or E&P, as I'm sure many of you already know. We've got Kris Pitta with us, a real expert in the oil and gas world, to break down this complex landscape. And trust me, this is a deep dive you won't want to miss. Hi, Kris. Thanks very much for doing this today. It's great to have you
Thank
on.
you, Anna. It's a pleasure to be here.
I like to start with a bit about your background to help set the stage. Could you tell us a bit about yourself?
I am originally from India. My grandfather worked for Shell India in 1980s. He was my inspiration for all my oil and gas career. The oil and gas industry was a frequent topic at the family's kitchen table. I earned a bachelor's in chemical engineering, followed by a master's in petroleum engineering from Missouri University of Science and Technology and an MBA from Cornell. I'm in the oil patch for 20 years. I've held roles in engineering, acquisitions, strategic planning, working across major US basins. In 2020, I founded Prudent Resources, focusing on acquiring and operating high value onshore assets. We have a successful track record of multiple funds and 4 years of operatorship in Texas, Colorado, and Wyoming. I live in Houston with my wife and two daughters.
Great. We'll be covering a lot of ground today, from the impact of Trump's election win to the tech innovations that are really shaking things up in the industry.
It's really exciting time. What I find fascinating about our sector is its resilience. It's not just about pumping out more oil. It's about doing it smarter, more efficiently. Companies are laser focused on profits, and that means choosing drilling locations strategically and using cutting edge tech to get the most out of every well.
So it's not the wildcatting we used to see?
Exactly. We are seeing a shift towards established high producing areas.
Yeah.
Like the Permian Basin, the one region alone accounts for over 40% of US oil production.
It's incredible. 40%?
Yeah, it's massive. Along with the Permian, you have got the Bakken and Eagle Ford shale formations. These are the heavy hitters right now.
Those names are familiar, but what about the technology side you mentioned? Companies are getting smarter with extraction. What does that actually look like?
Well, data analytics is playing a huge role. Companies are gathering massive amounts of geological data, then use sophisticated algorithms to pinpoint the best drilling locations.
So they know exactly where to drill?
Pretty much, this precision minimizes risk and increases the chance of well striking oil.
It's not just luck anymore, though.
It's about informed decisions. And it's not just oil. Natural gas is booming too, especially liquefied natural gas, LNG. Global demand for LNG is surging, and US producers are in a great position to capitalize on that, especially with Trump in charge.
So things are looking pretty good overall.
There are definitely some strong positives.
But I know every industry has its challenges. What are some of the hurdles investors need to be aware of?
Well, one of the biggest is commodity price volatility. Oil and gas prices are notoriously unpredictable.
Yeah, we all see that at the pump.
Exactly. It's influenced by everything: global supply and demand, geopolitical tensions, OPEC, dollar strength, you name it.
So, with all that uncertainty, how can investors even assess risk?
It's definitely a challenge, but experienced investors understand volatility and they factor it into their decisions. They look at a company's hedging strategies, their cost structure, their ability to ride out those price swings, etc.
And then there's the whole regulatory landscape.
Oh, absolutely. Federal and state regulations can be a minefield. They can impact project timelines, costs, so companies really need to know the rules of the game.
What kind of regulations are we talking about?
Things like permitting processes or environmental regulations, those can cause delays and unexpected expenses.
So, navigating that regulatory maze is crucial.
Absolutely essential. And then, of course, we can't forget about rising costs in general. Inflation is hitting everyone, and our sector is no exception, right? Labor, materials, transportation, it all adds up.
Yeah, it's affecting everything.
It impacts profitability and can make some projects less viable.
So it sounds like you need nerves of steel and a solid plan to make it in this industry.
You definitely need to be prepared, but with the right approach, there are opportunities. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about the Trump's election win and how it could impact our sector.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It's on everyone's mind, and for good reason. The Trump administration could have major implications for energy policy and potentially reshape the entire landscape for US oil and gas companies for good.
So let's talk about that. A lot of our listeners are wondering what a Trump administration could mean for their investments. What are some of the key policy areas that could be impacted?
One of the biggest is permitting for new drilling projects on federal leases, which would boost domestic production and create jobs. Companies could have a huge impact on their bottom line. With a streamlined permitting process, could mean faster approvals, lower costs, which could lead to more profits and more job creation. The other one is LNG exports. We will see a surge in LNG exports. Finally, we'll continue to have energy independence with Trump in charge.
For investors, understanding the Trump's energy policies is crucial.
Absolutely. You need to consider how his policies could impact the companies you're invested in or thinking of investing in. For example, a company that relies heavily on a drilling on federal lands or a company that invests in LNG exports would be beneficial with his policies.
That's a great point. It really highlights the importance of due diligence in understanding the details of the company's operations. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about opportunities despite the challenges. There's still a lot of optimism about US One for oil and gas. Where do you see the most promising areas for growth and investment?
Well, there are several areas to watch. As you mentioned, mature basins like the Permian, Bakken, and Eagle Ford remain attractive due to their established infrastructure and a relatively low production cost, which makes them appealing. These basins have a proven track record and continue to deliver solid returns.
Those are the safer bets.
In a sense, yes, they offer a level of predictability that many investors find attractive. But then you have the natural gas, which is full of potential, especially with the global push for natural gas and LNG.
Right? I've heard natural gas described as a bridge fuel to a lower carbon future.
Exactly. Basins like Haynesville, Marcellus have abundant natural gas reserves, are in a prime position to benefit. These regions are seeing significant investments in infrastructure to support LNG exports. Currently, LNG is in high demand from countries looking to reduce their reliance on coal.
So natural gas is stepping into the spotlight both here and globally.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about companies that embrace automation, AI, and advanced drilling techniques. They will have an edge and are likely to deliver better returns for investors.
Can you give us some examples of how technologies are being used?
Sure, one example is autonomous drilling rigs. They operate with the minimal human intervention, which reduces labor costs and improves safety.
Interesting.
Another example is AI powered predictive maintenance. This helps companies anticipate equipment failures and avoid costly downtime.
Can you share your thoughts on what investors should consider when looking for investment opportunities?
Look for companies that are making strategic acquisitions, acquiring assets that complement their existing operations, or assets that provide entry into a new growth market. For example, a company might acquire a smaller rival to expand its footprint in the basin, or to get access to valuable infrastructure like pipelines or processing facilities.
So it's not just about getting bigger.
It's about getting smarter and more strategic. And for investors, it's about recognizing that potential for value creation through those strategic moves.
What else should investors consider?
Thorough due diligence is a must. Before making any investment, you need to dig deep into a company's financials, understand their cost structure, analyze their track record, look for companies with strong management, a history of profitability, and a clear strategy for navigating the challenges and opportunities.
So do your homework.
Exactly. Blindly following trends or hype can lead to big mistakes. You need to understand the business, the risks, the potential rewards, such.
And of course, there's always the risk of political and regulatory changes.
That's right. Staying informed about policy developments, both here and internationally, is crucial. Changes in regulations, taxes, and even trade agreements, they all can impact profitability.
So it's not just about the numbers.
It's about the bigger picture, right? The oil and gas industry is heavily influenced by government policies. Savvy investors know that. They stay informed and adapt their strategies accordingly.
This has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I have a much better grasp of this complex sector. Now, any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I think the key takeaway is this: oil and gas industry has its challenges, no doubt, but it also offers huge potential for those willing to do their research, manage the risk, and stay informed.
So, for someone considering investing in US onshore oil and gas, what's your one piece of advice?
Focus on the fundamentals, right? Understand the industry, the players, the risks, the rewards. Partner with experienced professionals who can guide you. And remember, this is a long game. The energy landscape is constantly evolving. Be adaptable, be ready to adjust your strategy.
Excellent advice. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks for sharing your expertise.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, we hope you found this deep drive helpful. Remember, knowledge is power. Staying informed is key to success in any market.
Keep learning, keep exploring, and happy investing.